Shawn Callahan from Anecdote. Welcome.
Hi Trevor, how you going?
Yeah, very well, thank you. First question I'm really keen to know, given your name, Callahan, did anyone call you Dirty Harry at school?
Dirty Harry. No, look, we always referred to Uncle Harry, but never actually got called Harry myself. So, very famous guy, of course, especially growing up in the 70s. It was really important to be associated with Uncle Harry.
Of course, absolutely. Let's get down to business. Your company's called Anecdote. Can you tell us a bit about the company? Are you just local, or do you consult to clients in other countries? How many of you are there? What do you do?
Yeah, look, we actually consult all around the world. Just last week, for example, we had, of all people, Shell giving us a call who want to know and get some assistance on strategy, which is pretty amazing that Shell might be interested in the work that we've done. But we've actually did a range of work for Shell in the past. So, we work in London, we work in the US, we do a lot of work up in Asia, especially in Singapore, seems to be a big area. But of course, Australia's our home, so we're spending a lot of time, travelling around Australia and doing work for large corporates.
You have an office in Canberra and Melbourne.
Canberra and Melbourne, and one man up in Sydney. So he's our Sydney contact.
Big shoes to fill. So what exactly does the company do? I mean, I know that I probably call it corporate storytelling, and you're probably going to tell me I'm way off beam, but I'm got to try and box you in somehow, and your job is to unbox me. What do you do? And if it is corporate storytelling, whatever it is you do, why do companies need that?
Yeah, look, I would say what we do is we help an organisation take their strategy and turn it into a story so that it sticks. So, companies will spend, a heap of money, a lot of effort developing a strategy, and then do your standard CEO roadshow and find that, in 6 months' time, no one actually knows what the strategy is. So our job mainly is around, okay, how do you convert that into something that's memorable and something that people actually want to retell? So that's the main part of our work. But of course, when you do that, you're actually creating a need for change. So a lot of our work is sort of a combination of this strategy communication piece, but then a change component. Now, you say storytelling, we would say story work, okay? Because we actually do the storytelling side, what we call story listening. In other words, eliciting stories from people. And then finally, we do story triggering. How do you get leaders to do things that trigger stories in organisations? When you pull those three things together, then you've got something that's really quite powerful.
So it's quite unique. It's not PR at all, but it sort of might veer into, the messaging, the narrative that PR companies do often with companies, but taking it to the next couple of degrees more than that.
Well, we came out of a different heritage. We sort of came out of an anthropology, archaeology sort of heritage.
So hence the digging?
The digging, like digging metaphors, absolutely. Ferreting around is quite popular. But for us, we came out of, first of all, doing projects which are around eliciting stories from organisations, helping them make sense of that, and then for them to design their own initiatives. So, for example, we've just done one with KPMG across Australia where it was around employee engagement. Now, and they've done all sorts of standard ways of trying to tackle that topic, but weren't really making that much progress. So what we enabled them to do was we went and collected a whole range, hundreds and hundreds of stories of good and bad activities that had an impact on employee engagement. And it wasn't until they sort of had those stories where they were able to then to design some initiatives to make a real change. And the thing I've learned out of all this is that in the early days we thought it was all about insight. There's tremendous insights when you get stories. But what's more important is you actually engage people emotionally, and that sparks action. So people got to feel it, and that's the bit that the stories bring. It brings that emotion.
Visceral.
Yeah, it's visceral, that's right. You feel it in all sorts of different ways.
I don't get to use that word often, but it's a good word.
Yeah, that's right. Build it in.
So, in terms of marketing your business, you're in the B2B space, obviously. Yeah. You deal with companies of all sizes. We're probably veering towards the blue chip and the upper end.
Yeah.
How would you describe your approach to marketing?
We have a pretty simple approach. It's, I guess, we do a lot of face-to-face meetings. Coffees are actually really important in our business. But from more of a digital side, I suppose we have a series of activities that we do. Our blog has been an incredibly important part of our marketing. We started our blog in 2004, so we were very early adopters of this idea of, you know, sort of blogging. And that came to me because I used to work in IBM and I had an internal blog with IBM, and then when I jumped out to start Anecdote in 2004, I thought, oh well, might as well blog. Now I didn't have a real clear reason why I was blogging, except I wanted to get my ideas out there, and I'd blog about 3-4 times a week, and I just was persistent. Every week I was making sure I was blogging. It wasn't a difficult thing for me to do, because I was mainly just telling stories, you know, and I made it very conversational. It was just like if I was chatting to you, you know, over a coffee. That's how I blogged.
And that's how people should probably blog today anyway. I mean, a corporate blog should be that conversational style.
Yep.
Because that's what people want to read.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what was really interesting in those early days, because blogging was just really taking off, there was heaps more trackbacks and links and people really interconnecting between blogs. And because of that, we actually ended up getting quite a high Google ranking very quickly. And you know, we get a high number of people visiting our website every day because of the content in the blog.
Was the blog inside your corporate website or external to it?
Well, we didn't have anything but the blog.
Okay.
We started only with the blog.
With the blog.
Yep. And then we realised that, oh, gee, maybe we should tell people what we do and, you know, who we are and all those sort of things. So we built our corporate website around our blog.
Okay.
Right.
And very organic by the sound of things.
Yes, it was organic, yes.
Yeah, so if you were blogging in 2004, potentially that was the first corporate blog in Australia.
You think so?
Oh, we should go with that. Should take that. It's all about the story.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was...
How many posts have you got up now then?
I'm not exactly sure the number. It'd be, I would say, in the thousands.
Oh, it'd have to be.
You know.
And have you kept that pace of that? How many times are you blogging a week, or you share it amongst a few of
them? Yeah, it's now a group blog, so everyone in Anecdote has an opportunity to do some blogging. So my personal requirement to write something has reduced somewhat, but we still get probably 2 or 3 blog posts a week, so it's still a sort of a constant flow out there. And
increasing in terms of readership or visits or uniques, are you allowed to share what you're doing there, or give us a hint on how? Because I'm sure after that time you'd have a lot of Google juice, you'd have a lot of evergreen content, and that's driving people back to your website.
Well, it's you know, I would say it's fairly consistent, you know, in terms of the number of people who are visiting. You get those changes that occur over the year just through almost like the seasons. But the thing that I'm always amazed is just the sort of the growth of people who feel that they really know you, right? And so, for example, I was in London last year, and because when I arrive, first thing I do is maybe tweet a few things to sort of say I'm in London. And these ladies tweeted me back, and they sort of said, "Oh, we're from the Mayor's office. You know, would you like to come and meet us?" And I went, "That sounds good. The Mayor's office." So
the London Mayor?
The London Mayor, yes. So I went to the Hive, on, you know, the building which is right next to the Thames there, and I went and met these ladies, and they were long-term followers of the blog. Never had posted a comment, never had emailed me, but had used the content to do a whole range of different projects. And so they were able to tell me about the various story projects they'd run, the change projects, and it was just fantastic, the sort of the level of connection that they had. Now, what I find that creates is word of mouth.
It does.
Right? So, you know, you may not get a direct response from the people in the Mayor's office, which we haven't, but they're talking about us because they had success using the material that we provided on our blog.